everybody, and a very warm welcome to all of you here. And first of all, before we start, I'd like to wish you all a wonderful and a happy new year. And to bring in the new year, we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Shovana Narayan, an artist par excellence, a Padmashri Awardee. And first of all, I'd like to welcome her. Hello and welcome, Dr. Shovana Narayan, and welcome to ZEN Talks.
Thank you very much indeed, Ruchira. It's been a pleasure talking to you and being with you just now and with all your viewers. And thank you for inviting me.
Great. And it's a pleasure for us to have you here with us. So tell me, with the last year having been so difficult and so complex in so many ways, how has your experience or your learnings been of the lockdown and the unlock phase 1, unlock phase 2? Did you lean on your dance to get through it? And what were the learnings that you had during the lockdown?
Well, I think, first of all, to begin with, like all of us, everyone, we thought it would be just a temporary phase, little realizing that it would extend so long, but it did. Yes. And that gave fun and object. I was welcoming it because it gave me a chance to consolidate all the research work I had been doing and writing work, etc. Then when it started elongating, I started learning new things. I had never ever thought that I would go for online teaching. Earlier when students had approached me, from different corners of the world, I said, "Oh, online, forget it. How do you do it? I mean, it's so there are time lags and the tala, the lay and all that. But lo and behold, I had to learn, struggle through first learning how to do the Zoom, etc.
Yes.
So I think it was quite a good learning experience. And one also then was even, one saw that even in the online teaching, there are, of course, pitfalls of online teaching. It can't be the same, and it just cannot replace.
You miss that personal interaction.
Yeah, I do. But at the same time, and particularly in Kathak, there's so many other aspects that you can concentrate on, like the padhan. Jo hum padhan kehte, we talk about all the rhythmic utterances should be clear, crystal clear. Those aspects one started concentrating on. Right. One started concentrating on Baithaki Abhinay. That you sit down and at one point, how do you do the Abhinay, the whole Abhinay sequence, the perspectives of the moving body. So one started enjoying it, and then instead of meeting some of my students twice a week or thrice a week, we all started meeting every day.
That's wonderful. So it's about relearning and learning new things.
Relearning, and then all my students and many new students, from across the globe became part of the family. So I think it was very positive in that way. And I certainly, for one, never felt, I'm not the kind of person to wallow in defeat or in depression.
Of course, yes.
And so, and for me, it's a challenge. And so, you take up your challenge because life, anyway, is life, and it's beautiful because it's full of challenges.
That's true.
And, so there are always obstacles in life, one way or the other. This was a new learning, new phase in our lives, and one learned to go how to wear the mask
and live with it.
Yes. And live in it. And then I always say, "Arey, hum to Hanuman ji ki sena aa rahe hain."
That's true. Great.
I said, "Hum to Hanuman ji ki sena ban gaye."
All right. So moving on, Shovana, my next question to you is that your journey, of course, has been remarkable. You have been a choreographer, an author, a social worker, a recipient of more than 37 national and international awards, and of course the Padmashri Award and the Sangeet Natak Akademi Award. So was this profession a childhood dream, a deep-rooted passion, or a cultivated choice? Because you actually successfully dabbled in more than one career. So how did this happen?
I ever since childhood, I grew up with my feet in on two boats.
Okay.
I first of all, even though not coming from a traditional family of artists, because my grandfather was a they were big landlords, big zamindars, and a barrister at law, and he was also one of the early members of Parliament of 1923.
Right.
So that way, and his younger sister was one of the first lady MLAs of Bihar in 1936.
Wow.
So it was a family who were into freedom movement and things like that. So it was a completely different family, steeped in nationalism, steeped in Indian culture and Sanskrit and philosophy and things like that.
But not in dance.
But not in dance as a profession, as a career.
Right.
But every child of the family had to be well versed in all forms of art.
That's a wonderful thing.
Every child of the family. So obviously, when I was a child, I first my initial steps are first into the world of dance. Though Indian philosophy and literature were at home, I grew up with hearing the Bhagavad Gita in my ears. And and I loved both. For me, the moment I took to dance, it was like a fish finding its home, its water, its life. And for me, there was no looking back. I knew that I had found my breath, my life, my soul. And then I loved my studies. So I was always into academics and my dance. Dance was like my breath. For me, it was my life. I said, I don't live without dance. I cannot. So for me, even then, I knew that dance was going to be part of me till I die. And I love my studies, academics. So
yes, that's what I was coming to, that you've actually excelled in more than one profession. So which is the closest to your heart? Is it still dance, or do you enjoy teaching students?
As I said, dance is my life. It's my breath. But along when you're breathing, you do it naturally. But you're doing so many other things.
So you would be an advocate of multiple professions, or excelling in more than one profession. Great. But tell me, in these times, don't you think, as you just spoke about your family and growing up years, that how children were well versed in philosophy and art and culture? So do you think that the current generation is a little out of that, or they're losing touch with their own roots? And how do you think we can combat that as parents or as mothers and fathers? What can we do to kind of bring them back and connect them with our own culture and philosophy?
I think when you're talking about children going away, largely whatever the child imbibes, a lot of it comes first from the home.
True.
And so for me, the home was a place where I got my deep roots in our Indian philosophy and culture.
True.
So I've always studied in a convent school. So I was throughout a convent educated person. So I know my Shakespeare's, I know my this thing. At home, I knew my Kalidas's, I knew my Bhasa, I knew everything. So actually, what you give to a child from home, a child automatically imbibes a lot from outside.
All right.
So outside, it's perhaps not something that all of them are nice, But what's more important is what is at home. And whether it is the intangible or the tangible, they all impact the growth of the child and the personality of the child.
So what you're saying is that we have to make that change ourselves.
We have to make that change as parents in the home environment, because then the child will grow up and that child will then reflect it in their attitude, in their behavior pattern, in their work culture. Like today, but having said that, I would like to say that when I'm thinking about my students and the generations over there around, they all come from fabulous families, and they come from, I have students from all stratas, from the most economically, the weakest section of society, the economically, the most advanced sections of society. So it is a complete range. Yet one thing is common in them, and that is their dedication towards the art. towards
That's
classicality.
wonderful. That's
And and classicality is not something ki aaj seekha, tomorrow you're on stage. No,
exactly.
it's not a simple one
It
two one
requires,
two or
yes, years of dedication.
it requires, it's dedication. It is something, and yet and there's no instant success, no
True.
instant money, no instant glory,
Recognition,
no
yes.
fabulous money, not at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
So yet, in spite of all this, that don't have that kind of a wealth or that kind of overnight stardom, yet these youngsters are dedicating themselves to dance. So I think it speaks volumes, not only for the strength of the art, but also for their own inner leaning and
That's very
vitality.
nice to know.
And these youngsters, 10-year-old, 8-year-old, 15-year-old,
That's a
and
very
some
good
of them
trend.
who have returned from Harvard and this and that, and yet have given up their lucrative careers
Yes.
only for dance. So there are also those examples. So that speaks volume.
There's two sides to
But
the story.
having said that, I would say also that it is necessary for all of us as parents, as people within the home, that what we have to remember, that what we sow, that's the plant that was going to, in our behavioral attitude. It is so, because culture does not mean only music and dance or visual art. It means the way you conduct yourself, the way you speak, the way you
interact,
think,
yes,
the way you interact, your behavior, everything is part of that whole culture.
That's true. Great. So that brings me to my next question, that you've choreographed some international events. You've written more than 16 books. So what is the magic mantra when it comes to time management? How do you manage to do all this and more? How do you do that?
There's no magic mantra at all.
No, but as in, all of us are always struggling to pack in so much in a day. So you have done so much over the years, and you still manage to stay so relevant. So how do you achieve that?
For me, whatever I do it with passion, with all my heart, and with great dedication.
Would you compartmentalize your day and plan that, okay, 3 hours for this and 2 hours for this, or maybe somehow some days for choreography and some days for teaching and some days for dance? How do you manage?
You can't do that. No, you can't do that.
So then how does it work?
Again, it was in Bombay. So I would have been 7, 8 years old, 9 max. I had my terminal exams coming up. And terminal exams are like big things. And since I was always a position holder, either first or second in class, so obviously everything mattered. And so I was studying. And then, I don't know, I thought I was studying. Till my mother just comes, I suddenly find my book being closed, and my mother says, "Get lost." So I said, "What?" And I said, "Look, I've got my exams coming." So she says, "Yes, but you haven't been studying. I've been watching you." So I said, No, I've been studying." She said, "No, you haven't. Your mind has been wandering. You haven't been studying." And so she said, "What was your mind on? Was it on dance practice or what is it?" I said, "Yeah." So then she said, "Go ahead. Go do your dance practice. Go out and play. Do whatever your mind, wherever you go, what you want. And then not at the moment. Don't study. Don't give me the pretense that you're studying." And then actually I went out. Quietly I just kept, and I followed it. I came back all refreshed, and I really studied. I think that later on, my mother, much later, she said, "I hope." And after that, I always remembered. Without my mother telling me, I would say, okay, when my attention was wandering, I would go out, just close. And so it means that whatever I did, the lesson that I learned was, whatever you do it concentratedly, with your whole heart. because there's no point in spending 6 hours or 10 hours, doing something where half the time your
Half-heartedly,
mind is,
yes. True.
yeah.
True. So that is the magic mantra.
I don't know about that magic mantra, but yes, it taught me time management,
That's a
but I
wonderful
never
lesson.
realized it then,
All right. No, that's a great lesson. But tell me, now that we've all entered the digital stratosphere, and of course, as you said, even you're doing classes online, and you also organize two major dance events annually. So, do you see major changes in the dance in the domain, in this domain also, and you see events going online, like the way students are? What are the changes that you kind of see in the future?
Well, first of all, I do see a certain change, and let's start the positives. That suddenly the medium, the electronic medium, is full of young artists with creativity bursting forth.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, beautiful creativity bursting forth, sometimes not so good. You have all shades.
True.
Okay. So at least, so I think it was amazing to see how this pandemic situation has unleashed talents. And, then suddenly you find people writing their poems, so you
Singing
had budding
songs, yes.
poets and poetesses all over who had never tried. Then people suddenly putting on social media all the dishes that they had
That they were
cooked. So you
making,
suddenly
yes.
had a whole range of new cooks and new chefs around. But what I meant to say was that there was creativity galore. Whether it was in the field of dance, or whether it was in the field of music, or whether it was in other fields.
Yes.
And now you have many online festivals happening. And the online festivals are there, so you're giving chances. There are so many young artists and different artists of hues and caliber are coming. Some, of course, are very questionable calibers, but some of them are excellent. Amongst them, you see excellent artists with excellent skills and training. And so that is also there. So a good organizer can easily pick out, but you need time, and one doesn't have all that time, all of them, but still. So those are the positive parts. Those are the positive. Negatives have happened is that of online or in terms of dance organization is that because of the difficulties, economic difficulties all over faced by all, and but all this, not all of them were government organizers, they were all private. I mean, the government is only a small percentage. The rest of it was all private organization. So how did they do it? They funded themselves through, so that is how they were meeting it. And yet it was happening. Today, unfortunately, those sources have virtually dried up. I think the challenges now are of a different kind, but which does not mean that people should get aware that we are all disheartened by it. Despite all these challenges and obstacles, yet it's happening. Yet it's happening. And that is because the creativity of an artist does not stop. It finds its outlet.
And yes, one has to unleash their inner potential through these forms.
Yeah,
true.
Even say you talked about the specially able. I remember, working with spastic children and some severely spastic children. But for me, it was a learning lesson also. When first of all, I enjoyed being with them. That is this thing. And I said again, it's not their fault that they were born like that. It's not. So why should we deprive them of anything? Why? They are also entitled to that dignity and respect and all the opportunities that are available to anybody else.
Yes. And if it's in our power to give them equal opportunity, then why not?
Yeah, why not? Why not? And and I must quote an incident I've never forgotten. I don't know what happened to those two young children, and particularly this young boy. It was sometime, in the month of September, October. I was holding that workshop. And so I asked them, I just laughingly asked them smilingly, I said, Aaj kya karenge? So they said, severely spastic, very, very, you knew it from the way they reacted, they looked, etc.
Right.
And when one chap was loud and he said, the Ram Leela. So I said, okay. I said, okay. Then we were doing it. And then he himself said, I am going to be Ravan.
Okay.
So I said, oh. I said, why do you think you're going to be Ravan now? You talk very normally to them, as to, why do you think you want to be Ravan? Why should I make you Ravan? What is so special about it? He says, because I can do ha 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 better.
All right. Okay.
So I said, very good. That's a good reason. And so we started doing it. Now, when it came to Sita Haran, I'm telling you about this episode because please contrast it to the way we all behave. When we meaning not you and I, but the common man today behaves, is that, or the so-called abled behave. When it came to Sita Haran, he comes up and he says, ha ha ha, because he could do ha 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 very good. So then he says, Sita, come. मैं हिंदी में बोला, सीता मैं तुम्हारा हरण कर रहा हूँ, चलो. And so he said ha ha ha, and he turned and he started walking, and Sita ji meekly trotted behind him. I was like this, and I said, hey, hang on, you were doing the haran, na? So he said, yes. So I said, why didn't you do it like this? She should have resisted and should have pulled. He says, no, ma'am. Now, please remember, now what I'm going to say. A severely spastic child. He says, no, ma'am. How can I? She's a girl and I have to respect her.
That's beautiful.
Now,
that's a learning there for us, yes.
It's a learning. That here is a severely spastic child still thinking about respect for a girl.
Yes,
even a girl that he's doing harana,
and her consent, like he said that chalo, and then she would come. So that itself speaks volumes.
Yeah, and look at how we behave in real life. Just contrast it.
Absolutely. And that's a very nice anecdote. Thank you for that. And before we move on to the rapid fire, I'd like to ask you one last question. That you're a role model to millions of young aspiring dancers out there. So what is the kind of advice that you'd like to tell them? Or what are the 3 things that they should keep in mind while they try to be or follow in your footsteps and try to be like you?
I would first of all say, follow your heart as long as it's morally correct, ethically correct. That your values are intact, but follow your heart. And and whatever you do it with depth. Do it with depth and dedication and sincerity and honesty. So you have to be honest to yourself and to what you're doing. You have to understand yourself, in other words. That is the second thing. And never, I would say, and along with that, the same thing, never lose sight of sensitivity and humanity. Never lose sight of it.
That's a wonderful thought. That's great advice for all the girls out there who want to follow in your footsteps. And now moving on to our fun rapid fire questions. So I'll just ask you 5-6 fun questions and you have to give me a quick answer. So tell me 2 things that no one knows about you.
No one knows about me. I think everything everybody knows about.
2 things that nobody knows, or maybe very close people. 2 little secrets about you.
I have none.
All right. Okay. Then what is your pick-me-up food? The one thing that can really pick your mood up if you're a little low.
Just nothing. Just actually, food-wise, not much, with really.
Anything else which works as a pick-me-up?
I would say just good music. And if I just sound, lyric ka sound aa gaya, ya koi achhi raagdari aa gayi.
So that's a big
classical music.
Okay. What is the one thing that you just can't live without?
What is the one thing?
that you can't live without?
Oh, I can't live without my dance.
Of
Arey,
course.
my Jeevan, my Atma.
If you could go back in time and do something differently, would you change anything about your life?
No,
Nothing at all. So no regrets.
nothing
Nothing
at
you
all.
want to do differently.
No.
All right, that's a life beautifully lived, well lived. Great. And if there's one person you could trade lives with, anybody living or who has passed away, anyone
No.
you'd like to live like for one day?
No. No. No.
No. All right.
I like to live my own life.
Great. Okay, so tell me, Shovana, what are you reading currently? What's on your bookshelf?
Oh, I've got all kinds of. My shelves are only full of Indian literature, that's the Vedas, that's the Manusmriti, that's the, all the Natya Shastras and this Shastra and that Shastra and this Puran and that Puran and everything.
So heavy duty esoteric stuff. All right. Okay. All right. And any favorite series on Netflix or any of the other platforms?
I don't watch Netflix. I don't have Netflix.
Oh my God, really?
So, yeah.
Through the lockdown also you didn't need it?
No, I didn't, because I was so busy with my dance
that's great.
With my own reading, with my own research work.
Great. Okay, so the last question, that which is your favorite holiday destination?
To Vienna to meet my family, husband.
Okay.
Husband and son. They are in Vienna.
Okay, so that is. So otherwise also, like right now, of course, you want to meet them there, but otherwise also Vienna is your favorite holiday space?
See, holidays, favorite holiday places wherever the family is, wherever you go. I enjoy wherever I go because my dance affords me enough scope to travel. Yeah. Every place is so unique. Our own country, every place is so unique and beautiful. There's so much within our country, and there's so much all across the globe, all across to admire.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, and here's to hoping that you make that trip to Vienna as soon as possible. And
yes,
thank you.
I didn't want to go. Normally, I'm never here for Christmas and New Year. This time I didn't go. Who wants to go for 15 days and be in quarantine and then come back without meeting anyone?
But true. Let's hope this too shall pass and we'll have a better year coming up. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us on Zen Talks. And all of you, please do like and subscribe to the channel and do send in your questions. And we'll be getting more leaders like Shovana. Thank you, Shovana. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much.